Okay, we learned in lesson 10 and lesson 11 that there was a machlokes between Abaya and Rabbah concerning what the machlokes was between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Meir said chayiv, Rabbi Yehuda said pater, and the question was, what are they talking about? Well, we knew that it was a case of someone that broke a cod in Rosh Hashanah and someone got hurt on that cod. But Rabbi Yehuda said some vague words about miskaven. If you had intention, you're chayiv. If you didn't have intention, then you're pater. And Rabbi Meir said that you're always chayiv. So Rabbah learned that the machlekes was concerning oinus. If it fell with a total accident, and Rabbi Meir said that you're chayiv, and Rabbi Yehuda said that you're pater. Abaya did not like that because Abaya said, "How could you be chayiv on an oinus?" And we said maybe with a certain oinus you could be chayiv on. Well, we brought a brisa that says that even Rabbi Meir holds that you're pater on oinus of nezakin of damages, and therefore you would be pater on that oinus. So Abaya came up with his own teretz, his own way of explaining the machlekes between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Meir. And the main answer that he gave seemed to be that they weren't arguing about Einus. They were actually arguing B'shas Nefila, which you see that right here. I put it in purplish. They were arguing about Shas Nefila at the time that it's falling. And the machlekes was Mar Savar, if you see that. Mar Savar Niskal Pesheya, Mar Savar Niskal Lav Pesheya. Depends, is stumbling or slipping, is that considered negligent or not? So Rabbi Meir held that it's negligent, so therefore you're chayiv. And Rabbi Yehuda said, Niskal Lav Pesheya, that it's not considered negligent. And we explained in lesson 11 what the niskaven was and what the eina niskaven. We said niskaven was if you had intention to break it according to Rabbi Yehuda, then you'd be chayiv. But if you didn't have intention, then you just slipped, and then it's considered lav pesheya and you should be pater. But everyone would agree that oinus is pater, and that's really what Rabbi Meir gained from saying this. That's really what Abaya gained from saying this in Rabbi Meir's opinion, that oinus is pater. Okay. The only thing is that Abaya came along and said betarti pligi, arguing about two things. I put two colors under there to show that each one is a different machlekes. So the other machlekes is la'achar nefila, that means after it fell, and that's what I want to explain to you in this video, is how this works. There's a little diagram of shas nefila. Everyone holds pshia as pata. That would be like if you intended to break it. That would be Rabbi Yehuda's niskaven, where you're chayiv, and pshia is chayiv. Everyone holds. Everyone holds oinus as pater. That's what Abaya gained over here. And the question is, was niskal? Is niskal a pesheya or is niskal lav pesheya? Rabbi Meir held niskal as pesheya, and that's why you're chayev. I put the question mark in green. That means it's a machlekes. I don't know what the green lines were. That's from my old video. And he holds chayev, and Rabbi Yehuda holds pater. Okay. But the thing is that Abaya said there's one other machlekes, and I wrote over here after, but let's write it in more clearly, what we're talking about. Let's write in la'achar nefila. After it fell down. Okay, now it fell down, and now our question is, are you going to be chayiv on these broken pieces? Well, obviously, it's a bar. Why shouldn't you be chayiv? You dropped it. Well, I don't want to make things complicated, but we'll go through two possibilities here. One possibility is, how did it fall? Were you negligent when it fell? The second possibility is, are you keeping the broken pieces? Now, the main issue is if you're keeping the broken pieces. That's what the Gemara calls this. I'll write it in over here, is mafkir nizakov. Oops. Nizakov. You're making ownerless the debris. Okay, but we also had another possibility of how it fell. So let's go through this just carefully. The whole machlokes here, I'm learning it according to Tosfos now, is when it fell in a negligent way. It fell in a negligent way. And now the pieces are on the floor, and you made it ownerless. So there is some guilt there. The only thing is you don't own it. You made it ownerless. Now this is an easy way to get out of responsibility. Well, Rabbi Meir, who happens to be the Tanakama of the Brisa, it's the Tanakama of the Tanakama of the Mishna, that is. He's also in the Brisa, but he's not called Tanakama over there. He actually has a name, Tanakama of the Mishnah, which the Mishnah doesn't say it's Rameir, but Rameir holds that mafkir nezakov, if you make ownerless the debris, the broken pieces, la'achar nafila, after it fell, Rameir holds chayav. That's why I made those red lines to show that this case, this is really the case, this is the big deal case. It's the case that we're talking about. Okay, I'll go through the other cases and explain why we said that I brought those in. But if we do just look at these two cases, here's where we'll see the machlokes clearly between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Yehuda, which is the Chachamim of the Brisa. I'll write in Brisa. Oops. He holds that if you're mafker nezakav, if you make ownerless the broken pieces, you're going to be pater, even though it fell with a pshia. The pieces came down there in a negligent way. He just holds that the Torah doesn't make you chayiv for a bar if you don't own it. Simple as that. We never heard of this opinion before. All the opinions that we had before was that if you own it, maybe it's a shar. If you don't own it, maybe it's a bar. Rabbi Yehuda says, I'm sorry, you don't own it, it's nothing. Even if it's negligent how it got there. So it's really the logic, I mean, I wouldn't have a way of explaining this. Look, if I threw something onto the street, a Snapple bottle, it's shattered all over the place, and someone would tell me, go pick it up. Someone could get hurt on it. I'd say, no, I don't want it. I made it ownerless. According to Rabbi Yehuda, I'd be pater. I said, I don't want the pieces. It's not mine. It's not a problem. And that's kind of what Rabbi Yehuda is saying. So it's a little bit hard to grasp the logic. But if you don't grasp it, that's exactly what he's saying. That because you made it ownerless, you're going to be pater. Now, this point everyone will agree to. If you make it ownerless after it fell by accident, that you're going to be pater. That everyone will agree to. If I can get a hold of Tosfos over here, point that out to you. It's really a beautiful piece. Tosfos says, it's the bottom of this nice Tosfos. He says, Mafkir nezak of lachan filas einas matzi yamar, that he can say, Hai bira lavana karise. It's I didn't dig this pit. Why? Given the bainas nasa. So it's very interesting. He calls something that happened bainas, something that happened without your control. It's not that you're exempt, but it's like as if you didn't even do it. And the reason why Tosfos is saying that is because he's learning this section of the Brisa, the third section of the Brisa, where Reb Meir is maida to the Rabbanon, that if you brought kankanim, which means containers, onto a roof in order to dry them, and it fell with the Ruach Sheina Mitzuya, that means it fell ba'inus, fell with Ruach Sheina Mitzuya, and it caused damage, he holds that you're pater. Tosfos learns that this is talking about after it hit the ground, and it's talking about where you made it ownerless. And that's why you're pater, because it fell by accident and you made it ownerless. So if we go here and we look at this, this is the case. That's exactly the case of, and maybe I can write in here, of Mala Kankanim. Mala, so you'll remember it. Mala Kankanim. Kanka, it's not writing well. Kankanim. So it's talking about after it hit the ground and you made it ownerless. So that's why you're going to be pater, because you didn't even put it there, because it was by accident. It's considered you didn't do it. Okay. Now, and they'll both agree to that. Obviously, Rabbi Yehuda will agree to that, and Reb Meir also agrees to that. That was the Moide Reb Meir lechachamim. That's this case of lachar nefilas if you make it ownerless. Again, the machlokes is if you make it ownerless after it fell b'pshia, with negligence. And what is negligence? Well, there's different opinions about negligence, but that doesn't matter to us. The question is, if you made it ownerless after negligence, are you going to be chayev? Reb Meir says yes, and Rabbi Yehuda says no. If it's yours, then you're always going to be chayev. I put this here just to show you that anything that you own, even if it got there ba'inus, but you're always responsible. It's your money. So I just put that there just to show you that there's no exemption if it's something that you own. We learned that before, and we learned it here. Tosfos actually brings a raya for this. from another case. This case right here, Taisus brings a raya for, but we don't have to get into that. Again, the machlokes is concerning after it fell with negligence and you made it ownerless, and that we're saying that Rabbi Yehuda says pater and Rabbi Meir says chayev. It was a little repetitive, but I hope it's clear.